Hi everyone and welcome to Falcon's Fun. I'm Falcon and today we're going to be having fun with our Transformers Haslab Omega Prime. And in fact, we're going to be having fun with the replacement units that I just received from Hasbro. So if you are somehow new to this, unaware of the situation, I've got my originals here in the background. Haslab Omega Prime had a number of issues out of the box. They seem to be widespread. Thankfully, Hasbro did a rerun. This is somewhat unheard of, especially on a Transformers side. We got seemingly a complete rerun of Ultra Magnus, and we got a rerun of the front section of Optimus Prime. And so I'm going to go ahead and take a look at these. These is actually going to be my first look. I just took them out of the box. And so we're going to learn together if Hasbro did indeed fix the problems. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail on the problems at this point. I've covered that in 2 videos. So if you need to get up to speed on what the problems are, how to identify them, and how to fix them on the original copies, be sure to check out my original videos. In this video, I'm simply going to be investigating these new copies from Hasbro and seeing if they did indeed fix the problems that were on the originals. So quick recap on what we're going to be looking at today. On Optimus Prime, we need to look at the torso to see what they did to the T-piece to alleviate the problems of the cracking chest. I'm also going to disassemble the pelvis piece here to make sure that the ratchets for the thighs were installed correctly so that those don't break. And then over here on Ultra Magnus, we primarily want to investigate whether or not the white pieces receive the correct fluorescent whitening treatment so that they don't yellow over time. We'll also at that same time look at the white parts on Optimus Prime. I'll also try to do just at least a partial transformation to see if they adjusted the tolerances for the wings at all, which are known to be very tough and could potentially break. All right, so first up, we're going to take a look at Optimus Prime here. They only sent the front half of the cab. It looks like they did not rerun the entire Optimus Prime figure. To me personally, I think that's a little bit odd, but I'm sure they have the reasons for why they did that. So yeah, we're going to do a partial transformation here, get some things out of the way. I'm not going to do a full transformation. Like I said in my original video, it's best to not touch it at all so that you can get in there and don't break anything. All right, so again, I will be using where is it? There it is. I'll be using a JIS J1 bit. Do not use a Phillips head screwdriver or you will strip the screws. I had a J1 bit from my iFixit set. And then of course, make sure you have somewhere to store your screws as you're going through this. And you don't want to lose anything. All right, and here we have now the infamous Optimus Prime chest piece here. So it looks like we are good as far as no cracks go. Paint looks good as well to my eye. Not sure how it's coming through on the camera. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay. All right, so let's take a look inside and see what is up. Okay, so at first glance, it looks pretty similar. I was not expecting them to completely redesign this. So we still, on the back piece here, we still have the fins. We still have this center rail with the notches in it. Actually, I wonder if that got changed. I have to go back and look. Okay, so this also looks identical from what I can recall. So we still have the gray T-bar, the T-piece. Interesting. This looks like as if it was, oh, focus. This looks like it might have been sanded. I don't know if that's coming across on camera, but this looks like it was sanded, the T-bar. Yeah, this was sanded down. You can tell. Because out of the when I if you go back and look at the, actually no, because when I did that video I already done it, I think. Yeah, because you can tell that this is white, and then there's some. It doesn't feel rough, so, but they didn't. See, when I sanded mine, I went in with a very high grit sandpaper, which is what I recommend everyone do on the original copy. It gives it a very smooth finish, and it looks identical to the rest of the piece when you use a high grit sandpaper to finish off the sides of this T-piece so that it'll fit properly. If I recall correctly, out of the box, the sides did not look any different than the rest of the piece, and that would make sense because this is, injected molded plastic. So there would be no reason for these sides to look worn like this, like they were sanded. Yeah, and you can tell on this, you can see how there's a slight angle on this bottom side of the T-piece. See how there's a very slight angle there? That leads me to believe that this was sanded. You see a little bit of that on this side, but I feel like maybe not as much. So I haven't even moved it yet. So let's go ahead and do that now. Actually, I'm just gonna take it straight out. When I opened up the original, I never moved it because I knew about the problem before I even opened up my Haslab in general. When I originally took this out in the original copy, when I took it out, I could feel the chest relax, so to speak. It came back together because the T-piece was pushing it apart. So let's see if that happens here now. No, it did not. That came out much easier than on the original copy. Oh yeah, they just sanded this. 100%. They just sanded this. Look at that. Yeah, that's what they did. They did not make a new piece. They just sanded this. Look at that. Yeah, that looks ugly. I don't like that. I'm gonna have to fix that. So yeah, they just sanded this. They did not create a new piece. They did not do anything with the tolerances. All they did was sand. They did the community fix. They just sanded this piece. That's all they did. Let's look inside the chest here real quick. Let's focus. There we go. Yeah, that was just a straight piece. Yeah, the fins look all right. I don't know if that's a... On that fin there, the third one down, I don't know if that's a stress mark or maybe just a part of the mold process. There's a couple more that are kind of like that. Let me get some compressed air on this real quick. I'll be right back. Okay. I'm wondering, because at least on mine, this is very poorly, because you see this, there's a little bit right here, because this wasn't sanded very well. Well, that'll come off when I resand this. Yeah, because this was not sanded very well, so I'm wondering if the roughness of this sand job on the T-piece is causing a little bit of wear on the fins here. You can see that would correlate to where it was roughly sanded, and you can see how on this edge here how uneven it is. And so that would correlate to the rough marks there on the fins closer to the front of the chest piece. So I think that's where those marks are coming from, is my initial assessment. Because the rest of the fins don't appear to be stressed. Come on, focus. It's just those edges that correlate to where this runs up and down. Let's see. Yeah, see, I can't easily get this. Oh, it's a little snug. That doesn't want to move, though. That does not want to move. Let's see up here. Yeah, that's also pretty snug. So yeah, this is going to be entirely dependent on I guess the technician, on whoever sanded this piece for your specific replacement copy. That seems to be the case with me. There was a little bit of lubricant in here when I opened it up, but effectively none, because I mean, you can't even, like, the reflection right now, that's just from the plastic itself. I saw a little bit when I opened it, but just me handling it, the lubrication that was in here is already gone. So yeah. Let's get the calipers out. We got some digital calipers here. Make sure we're zeroed. I took some measurements of the original release. And so we'll try to get some half decent measurements here on these fins to confirm whether or not this is in fact unchanged. So we're doing the first fin. Oop, this is hard with a camera in your way. 2295. That is almost exactly what I got on my original copy, which was 2296 on the first fin. So we're at 2295 on the first fin. Okay, the second fin. Oop. $22.94, but I feel like I'm digging in a little bit. Oop. Come on. I feel like I'm not on it. This is very hard to do, by the way. 2294 again. 2290. Which one of that? That's the fourth one down. 1, 2, 3. I got 2289 on this fin originally, so that's pretty much the same. 23. Oh my god, that is also exactly the same as my original copy. I feel like I'm catching on something. This one's hard to get because it's at the bottom here. 2293. Oh, you might not, guys, not have been able to see that with the glare. That's also okay. This is. There's obviously going to be a little bit of variance. A couple of those weren't exactly the same as I got on my original copy, but what, at least 4 of those fins were exactly the same measurement as I got on the original release. So yeah, this is completely unchanged. So the chest piece, completely unchanged. For shits and giggles, let's go ahead. Oh, I got stuck on my magnet. Let's go ahead and check. So this one, I got above 23 on them originally. So let's see, 23, 2303, 2308, 2306, 2304. And I originally got between 2301 and 2309. So this tells me that this piece is also completely unchanged. Yeah, so I think the conclusion here is that they literally just did what the community did. They just took this gray T piece, the T-bar, and they just sanded the sides. And they did it poorly, in my opinion, very poorly. You can see how that's a rough finish. The reason as I explained in my original video, the reason why you don't want a rough finish is because the problem is not only was the part out of spec, but if you have additional friction, that's not going to allow this piece to move very smoothly. And so that will potentially exacerbate the problem. And so that's why I advise everyone to do a smooth finish with a high grit sandpaper on this piece so that it will smoothly actuate up and down even without any additional lubrication. And so let's look at the nub, which was also a point of potential problem on this. This looks pretty mangled, not gonna lie. This doesn't look like the same amount of wear that I had on my piece out of the box. I mean, it's still there. I don't think they did anything with the nub. But yeah, I'm gonna remove that as well. Yeah, so they effectively did nothing. They did not re-engineer this at all. All they did was make more units, and then they had added an additional step at the factory to sand this. Yeah, I mean, there's no point in measuring this, in my opinion. I mean, I guess I can, since I already have it out and we're recording. But like, this is so varied because of the sand job that so let's see here, up at the top we're at 2305. Let's make sure I'm even. Yeah, I'm pretty much even. It's moving a little bit, but I don't want to go any tighter with this because this is a somewhat softer plastic. And so if I make the calipers too tight, I will dig into the plastic. So as you can see, let's make sure. Yeah, I'm pretty snug on there. 2305, that is larger than some of the fins by a few tenths of a millimeter, which is, you know, what we know is causing the problem. So this really isn't a solution, in my opinion. Let's go here. Yeah, and the pieces that fit in the back. Oh, I think I'm off a little bit. Let's try to get here. I'm out of frame a little bit. Yeah, we're at 2317 in the back. That goes into the rear of the chest. So again, that's too large for the rear, because the rear is between 2301 and 2309. So yes, it's too big. It's still too big. They did not fix this, in my opinion. They did not fix this at all. And so again, if you want to know how to fix this, go ahead and rewatch my original video. There'll be links all over this thing. I'll put cards in. There will be links in the description. If you're watching this via the TFW forum, make sure you're going to the Omega Prime fix thread. My original videos are linked in the very first post of that thread. If you see me posting, I have them linked in my signature on TFW. If you do a search on Reddit for how to fix your Haslab Omega Prime, I made a post on there. Do a search on the Transformers Reddit, and you'll be able to find my posts, which link to my video, and tell you how to fix this problem. They did not solve this problem, and you still need to fix your Haslab Omega Prime. Your Optimus Prime could still potentially break. They did not fix this adequately, in my opinion. This T-piece is still larger than the fins inside, at least on my copy. Again, it is very clear that all they did was sand this down like the community has been doing, but in my opinion, they did a very poor job of it. This feels a little rough. This side's a little bit better, but this side's still rough. If I had to guess, they used maybe 400 grit, something around 400 grit sandpaper, it feels like. Maybe 600, if that's what they had access to. But yeah, they didn't do enough, clearly. They didn't sand down enough on it, and they didn't use a high enough grit sandpaper. In my opinion, you need to obviously use a lower grit sandpaper to remove material, so that your 200 and your 400, and then in order to finish it off, give it a nice clean finish so that you don't have the problem here where you're wearing down the plastic because your finish is too rough. You need to hit this with a high grit sandpaper. So what I used, I went from 800 all the way to 2000. I think if you don't want to go that high, I had a multi-pack, so I ended up having 2000 anyway. But at least 1500, like 800 to 1500 will start to give you a smooth finish. I went as high as 2000 because that just really gives you a nice, clean, polished finish. Bare minimum 800 for sure. So like 800, 1500, and 2000 if you're wanting to get real fancy. And as far as, in my opinion, like I said in my original video, this is a fancy set. So, go the extra mile, get the extra sandpaper. You can use it again in the future. And yeah, it looks like we have to correct Hasbro's fix here because it's not it. It's not it, in my opinion. All right, we're just gonna put this off to the side for now. I will deal with that later. But next up on Optimus Prime, we do need to check. Probably shouldn't talk while I was doing that. We need to check the pelvis piece because it is possible for the ratchets that move the hips, it's possible that these are misassembled and could potentially wear and break over time the more that you use them. So we want to check that immediately to make sure that is not the case. All right, so let's take a look. I'm pretty sure I need to turn this way so it doesn't all fly out. Okay. So we're just in here for a quick visual check. Let's see here. Looks like we're pretty good. The hats are inside. They are on the springs. I don't see any wear. I don't see any stress marks, which is good. Yeah, so again, watch my second video if you want to know what's up here. But yeah, it's important to open this up to make sure that these are installed correctly, have not fallen out of the well that they sit into. Let's see the tops. Yep, they're good and pointy still. No abnormal wear in my opinion. Yep, that looks good on the camera. Let's double check in here. Yep, that all looks good. I don't see any wear on the ratchets. Some lubricant in there, but that's good. That's what we want to see on big heavy ratchet joints like this. Actually, what is that? There is a stray piece of plastic there. Let's see if I can get it. Nope, I'm just taking lube off here. Alright, I'll try to see if I can get that off camera. There might be a little tiny stray piece of plastic. I'm not too worried about it. But yeah. So that is Optimus Prime. I'll go ahead and do some partial reassembly and reset here, and we will take a look at Ultra Magnus. Alright, and finally we want to take a look at Ultra Magnus and Optimus Prime to see if the fluorescent whitening agent was added to the white parts. Again, be sure to check my original videos to get the full lowdown on that, but the short version is that it's important for these white parts to have an additive agent that will better reflect UV light and prevent yellowing over time. If you have the original toys of this, you are very familiar with how that works and what ends up happening with these toys because of that. So in order to check that, I've got a UV flashlight, and again, this is going to be my first look at it. This is very much out of the box. I haven't even put on the front grille yet. So let's turn, actually I will turn this light down to get a better look. And we'll turn on the flashlight, and oh yeah, top of the cab got fixed. Very nice, very awesome. I will compare this with the original after we take a look at it. These side panels weren't a problem before. The big problem, of course, were the hands. Oh yeah, if we look in there, yeah, it looks like all of the panels got the UV treatment. Let's go ahead and look in from the top. Oh yeah, everything is reflecting very brightly, so that means it got the correct whitening treatment. Very nice, very good. It looks like Ultra Magnus's white parts were fixed on this reissue. Let's also take a look at Optimus Prime's white parts. On my original Optimus Prime, there actually were a couple of parts that were not treated correctly. The thighs were good before. Okay, and the rear flaps on the legs were fixed. I believe one or both of mine weren't treated correctly. And then I remember one of my hands was also not treated correctly on the base mode, on the core mode. Oh, and it looks like we've got both of the hands treated correctly. So that's very good to see. It looks like all of the white parts on these reissues got the fluorescent whitening agent added. So if we go ahead real quick And so you can see how on the top here, that on the original copy, the part with the Omega Prime head was treated, but not the rest of the cab. You can see how it's not reflecting. It's not reflecting the UV light as brightly as the top there. So if we go and then look here, that is a very bright reflection all the way around. So that way we know the parts were treated correctly. Same thing with the hands here. So you can see how that right one is reflecting a lot, but the left one is not. That means it was not treated correctly. You can see through the side here how those hands were not treated either. So again, on this new copy, all of the white parts are giving us a nice bright reflection under the UV light. And so that means everything has been fixed in that regard. All right, let's go ahead and try to do a quick as I can partial transformation here so that we can check on the wings. It's been a little bit since I've transformed this guy, but let's see how well I can get us there. We gotta flip these off. Oh, there we go. Okay, so on the original copy, these were near impossible to press down for the vast majority of people. That is a bad thing because they're too tight, and that means when you go to pull it back out to go into vehicle mode, you risk the possibility of ripping the wings off of the white post here, and we don't want that because then it's broken and you don't really have a reasonable way to fix it. And so again, I covered this in my previous video on what needs to be done and how to do it, but the short version is you need to take this backpack apart and you need to sand down some lips that are on these posts on the inside. Let's go ahead and try to push these down and see how difficult it is. Oh yeah, yep, this is not changed at all whatsoever. Oh, okay, that one went down. Yeah, I'm not liking this. It is somewhat easier if you rock back and forth. Make sure your fingers aren't in there so you don't pitch your fingers. Yeah, this one, I'm having a tough time with this one. I will revisit that off camera. I'm not even gonna pull this one back out for any reason. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that until I can get around to sanding that, taking this apart and sanding it. Let's actually check the hands while we're in here with the UV. Yeah, the hands are good as well. So forearms are good, hands are good. Yeah, the white posts are good as well. Yeah, all the white parts got treated, thankfully. I honestly thought that was the bigger problem, so I'm glad that that was addressed. Okay. Yeah, so I'll pull back out here and we'll do a recap. All right, real quick, actually, I want to take a look at the date codes here to see when these were produced. All right, so Optimus Prime was made, so the 5 means 2025. The 1 just gets thrown onto the end for whatever reason. And so the 178 means the day of the year that it was stamped when it was produced. So that's the date code, the 51781, and the 178 designates the day of the year let's go ahead and punch that into the internet to see what the 178th day of 2025 was. And that was June 27th. So Optimus Prime was made in, this Optimus Prime was made in June of this year. I believe I saw someone that had a 179, so the day after. So that means that most copies started going out end of April, if I'm not mistaken, and that's when everyone started posting about the problems. So April, May, June. So they investigated and started running replacement units in just 2 months, which is a pretty quick turnaround. And knowing what we know now, the fact that nothing was changed, they just made more units and they modified, they literally just did the community fix and sanded the T-piece. I guess that makes sense for such a quick turnaround. On Ultra Magnus here, we've got a date code of 104. That is many months prior. Interesting. So let's see that 104. We plug that in real quick. That was April. So they knew that this was a problem as soon as this started going out with Ultra Magnus. That's interesting. That's interesting. Let's see if we can, I don't remember the original date code on this guy, and I can't, it's on that cross piece, right? Okay, the original date code on mine, we're gonna be able to see that. No, not really. The original date code on mine was 5/2, so still 2025. So let's see here. The 52nd day of 2025 was February 21st. So my original copy of Ultra Magnus was made on February 21st. And so not even 2 months later, they already started rerunning Ultra Magnus. Interesting. Very interesting. Because that's, I believe I have the same date code on my Optimus Prime. Yeah, I also have a 52 date code on my Optimus Prime. So those are both made on the same day. Interesting. Very interesting. That's how that worked out. Yeah, so we've got a date code of 52 on both of my original copies of the Haslab. So that means it was made February 21st of this year. And the rerun of Ultra Magnus was done basically it was done 2 months later in April 14th. So that means they had to have known about this. That tells me, again, this is a little bit of an assumption, but you're not going to have everything distributed. It only made and distributed in 2 months. So that tells me that they knew about this problem and it was in the works for a rerun before people even got their units and started reporting this problem on Ultra Magnus, because this was a later reported problem. This wasn't something that was reported right away, as far as I know. It first came out of Japan or China is where it started getting reported. And then, of course, myself and a few others on TFW here in the West started figuring this out. So it's interesting that they almost immediately started making new units of Ultra Magnus to fix the whitening problem. But then when it comes to Optimus Prime, this didn't get started until June 27th, at least on my copy, so probably the end of June. And that's well after the original was run in February, so they definitely did not start making new Optimus Prime units until people were getting them and reporting the problem. Very interesting. It's also interesting that, somewhat interesting, that the Ultra Magnus was sent in the original Haslab box. So it was packaged exactly like it is in the individual Ultra Magnus box that you get in the main Haslab box. It came in the same box for this reissue. Obviously for Optimus Prime, they had to make a new box because there was no reason to give the whole box since you didn't have the rest of the fire truck. You only had the cab. So this did come in a new box with new protective packaging that was, you know, the plastic bubble that is similar to the original production runs, but in a box that's half the size. So yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting. All right, folks, and there you have it. Here we got a big mess of Transformers, Haslab, Omega Prime figures and parts here. So to recap, the white parts that needed the fluorescent whitening treatment that did not get them before have been corrected, and so this should stay nice and bright white over time. So that is good. Personally, I thought that was a bigger problem because that's not something that you can easily fix, unlike the Optimus Prime chest, which, assuming yours isn't broken out of the box, that is something that you can physically fix yourself. The Ultra Magnus white parts is not something that you can fix yourself, not easily anyway. Requires chemicals and experimentation, and that's a road that we don't want to have to go down. So I'm very happy that this was fixed, and I will be very happy that this does not yellow over time. And then PSA, as far as I'm concerned, Optimus Prime has not been fixed. They simply did they literally copied the community fix, but in a poor way, in a lesser way. So again, this is very rough. This is not well done, the sanding that was done on this piece. They did not remove the nub, which I've shown in my previous videos on how that is a problem as well. And then the chest piece is, again, completely unchanged. And mine, while it does slot in, it's rough. It does not move very well, and you can tell on my chest piece that is in fact wearing it down because of the poor sand job that they did on this. So again, I'll link it everywhere. It'll be on the end card. There'll be cards on the top, on the corner, on the end screen. There will be links in the description below of this video. Please go watch my previous videos. I tell you everything you need to do in order to do this properly, in order to do it well, and so that you can be happy with your Optimus Prime for years to come. So thank you for watching. If at any point you found this video useful or helpful, let me know by giving it a thumbs up. If you'll be interested in more toy coverage and toy news talk in the future, feel free to subscribe. If you're also interested in me talking about toy news, I do that every other Monday with my friends over on the Infinite Shelf Life channel. I'll go ahead and link that below. And so I talk with my buddies Infinity War-Torn and Joestar. We mainly talk about Marvel Legends on that show, but we will occasionally talk about big news for other brands and other toy lines, including Transformers. So feel free to check that out. Thank you all for watching. Bye.